Here we go.
Mark, I'm going to leave the meeting and come back in on my phone.
Okay. It's okay too, Dale. If you don't want to mess around with that, you can. It's all right if you just have your image up there.
It's okay. It's
So.
distracting.
Give Dale 1 second to see. Get back in. So, there's a parable in the Buddhist canon that describes an insight that the Buddha had as a result of a simple observation. While meditating on the banks of a river, the Buddha overheard a musician teaching his student how to tune a sitar. Tighten the strings too much and they'll snap. Leave them too loose and they'll not make music. This simple image struck the Buddha deeply, really, because as Prince Siddhartha, before he was the Buddha, he had once lived in extreme luxury. Later, in pursuit of enlightenment, when he left his palatial palace, he went out and swung to the opposite extreme of severe self-denial. And neither path brought him peace nor awakening. Hearing the sitar lesson, he realized that awakening and wisdom require balance. From that moment, the Buddha taught what he called the middle way, a path between extremes. This principle of balance is not unique to Buddhism. The Christian theologian Thomas Aquinas stated, "Virtue observes the mean." The Talmud, the central text in Rabbinic Judaism, states a person should always conduct himself in the middle way, neither too easily angered nor too apathetic, neither too stingy nor too generous. The indigenous people of the Lakota Sioux Nation have a teaching that balance is found in walking between courage and compassion, power and humility. It highlights the greatest strength is gentleness. The Prophet Muhammad, founder of Islam, observed, "The best of affairs is the middle one." In the Bhagavad Gita, the Hindu tradition, Krishna describes how by cultivating temperance and balance, a yogi can find a path to joy and freedom from sorrow. It says specifically, there is no possibility of one becoming a yogi if one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough. But for one who is temperate in eating and recreation, balanced in work and relaxation, yoga destroys all sorrow. The ancient Roman Stoic philosopher Seneca echoes the same wisdom. Everything that exceeds the bounds of moderation, he says, has an unstable foundation. So we see across these wisdom traditions, East and West, we hear this same emphasis on balance. And that includes in the practice, whatever practice in these traditions, contemplative or meditative practice. Unfortunately, we have also seen in the fundamentalist extremes of many of these traditions just how difficult balance can be achieved. But still, the wisdom is contained in those teachings. This lesson of balance is especially important when we bring mindfulness and work with mindfulness in the territory of stress and pain and trauma. Balance in the middle way is highly relevant in practicing mindfulness and is helpful in working with stress and discomfort and pain. The trauma itself is a form of extreme stress and can create a lot of upset even during the practice. Trauma pushes the nervous system into extremes. It's the fight or flight response that mobilizes a powerful burst of survival based energy. And then also the freeze response that effectively traps that energy, kind of shuts it down in an extreme way. Of course, that's designed for our survival, but when it persists on, then it starts to work against us. Many with chronic stress swing between agitation and collapse, between too much and too little, and it's hard to balance it. The practice does offer us that way of practicing balance, but we can get caught just as easily in the practice by being too rigid or being too limp in a way, and not being disciplined in our practice. So, how do we strike that balance? And the answer is found within the practice, the very practice of simple observation, paying attention without rushing in to manipulate, to balance, to fix, to correct, to push away, to grab onto. So mindfulness is not about forcing ourselves to be a certain way, to relieve this or that kind of a symptom or to become different in this extreme way. It's about balance and cultivating capacity, our capacity to notice without reactivity. And when we do find ourselves reacting, to be able to see that and have the wisdom to see that, and then practice releasing so that there's not a clinging to nor a pushing away that creates stress. And we see this, as I said, through all these different traditions. And this is why the middle way is not just a Buddha idea, a Buddhist idea. It's a universal truth about being human, really. When we hold our practice in balance, we open the doorway to resilience and peacefulness and really wisdom. The other term for mindfulness meditation, insight meditation. We gain that insight when we can see the middle ground. And that's the place for healing to unfold by releasing our clinging and our rejecting. So the story about the sitar teaches us when we tune the strings of our own lives, our body, our heart, our mind, our attention, then we could say the music of mindfulness emerges most beautifully when the balance is just right. So with that, let's practice together. And I invite you to take a intentional and relatively comfortable position, whether that be seated, standing, or lying down, so that in the low body, or if you're lying down on the back part of the body, that there's a sense of rootedness, grounding, and really planting yourself here in this moment, which we're not freezing, of course. We know it's always moment by moment by moment. But rooting yourself here in this moment so that the low body or the back body is grounded to whatever degree that you're able. Feet flat on the floor, a sense of the body making contact with the floor or the chair, and that there be a rising up, opening up of the chest, a lengthening up through the spine, a leveling of the head. Placing the hands somewhere in a relatively comfortable position, maybe if you're seated, resting the palms or the backs of the hands on the thighs, or gathering together one hand on top of the other in the lap. And if you're lying down, you might do the same by extending the arms slightly away from the side body and placing the palms facing down on the earth or facing up. And you can Gently close the eyes or just lower the gaze down so that there's a bit of softening. And even if the mind is wildly running about, you can still adopt this posture. You may have heard that saying, you take the body and the mind will follow. And turning to the breath now. No need to manipulate the breath. Just noticing the breath as it really is in this moment, this moment, this moment. Now bringing your awareness to the breath. And more than just a simple in and out, you might notice that it, the breath is a circular process. We breathe in, we pause, we breathe out, we pause, we breathe in. And it's continuous. And so we don't need to wrestle with the breath, even if it feels very shallow or short and choppy, or whether it's long and fluid. We just notice, for this time anyway. And when the mind wanders, which it will, then we pay attention to where it's gone off to, and we bring it back to the breath. Whether that's a mental, a cognition, or whether it presents as an emotion or a physical sensation in the body, we notice all of that, turn towards it, and then release it by coming back to the breath. So let there be a gentleness in this kind of awareness or observation. That our paying attention has discipline to it, but it also has softness to it, gentleness. That we can befriend whatever's showing up by not requiring it to be any certain way. This is not passive resignation. This is intense and intentional awareness. Notice what's presenting in this moment, moment by moment. Using the senses to perceive what's showing up, and doing so in a non-judgmental way, non-clinging, non-rejecting, middle way. And just noticing or perceiving. Perception being meaning to be receptive, to receive. And the senses can do that. The senses can notice, can perceive, can take in without needing to do anything about it at this time. in these last few moments of this sitting here or lying here or standing here. And just recommit to being present. That's all. Be present in a non judgmental way. And no need to figure anything out right now or react to anything. Simple, pure awareness and presence, moment by moment. Here's a poem by Richard Wormski. It's a excerpted uh, form of his poem called The Middle Way. He's a Buddhist practitioner and poet. Here's a portion of the poem. In the heart of existence, the middle way unfolds, unbound by desire, free from renunciation holds. It's not a path for grasping, nor one to push away. The middle way is a dance, a harmonious ballet. Neither a whisper nor a roar, neither shadow nor the light, not the depths of night, not the day in its full might. It's not a journey of becoming, nor a tale of the has been. The middle way is in the present, the space that lies within. In the silence, in the sound, in the pause that lingers around, in the thought that ebbs and flows like a river as it goes. In our heart's unending beat, in the cold and in the heat, the middle way, a steady vessel where contrasts can meet. We're transitioning now from this period of silence and relative stillness, taking a couple deeper breaths or moving some fingers and toes or adjusting yourself. I'm going to stop the record.